Hello and welcome. My name is Natalie Baumstead, and I am the Executive Director at Wello. And I'm really excited for y'all to join us today for our series, Connecting for Well-Being with Wello, where we talk about all things community, connection, and well-being. So as you see here, today we're going to be diving into a discussion about the importance of connection. And this isn't particularly important from Wello's most recent resident health and well-being survey. We did find that the area of social relationships and social connection was one of the areas for us here locally where we had the most opportunity to improve. And you know, we know that when we do improve in this area, it has ripple effects, and it also leads to improvements in our physical health, our psychological health, as well as our longevity. So to really guide us through this conversation today and to give us some local examples of how we're all interconnected in this connection at work, I'm so excited to introduce to you Ronita Robinson, who is the CEO at the YWCA in Greater Green Bay. So Ronita, thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I've been looking forward to this, an exciting time just to kind of demonstrate how connected we are. So yes.
Exactly.
And how are you, Natalie?
I'm doing good. You know, I think it's been a ride, right? There's been some ups and downs, and trying to stay, you know, positive and look at the opportunities. How are you doing, Ronita?
Doing really fantastic, and I thought that maybe we would start our time with just kind of an example of the exchange. And so just asking how are you is a huge part of well-being. And at the YWCA, like, we are fond of saying sometimes you want to go to where everybody knows your name, and they do a fantastic job at our front desk when we are accepting clients, just knowing all of the names of the people. And so people love to be called by name, and so we say, how are you, Natalie? Or we say, how are you, Ronita? And people prop up and they feel pretty happy. And so, yeah.
That is, I mean, it's such a good demonstration of just that first point of connection between the people, right? And how important that is.
Indeed. And just the modeling, like, I'm fond of saying that you can do anything with friends. And during this time, away from a lot of my connections, I recognize how much I have gleaned from those relationships. I recognize that I have been given cues in relationships on how to do better by myself, you know, like how to smile a little bit more, how to laugh, how to reframe things. And so I've missed that time being in social distancing, but it's reified like my understanding of how important relationship is, community is, and connecting with people is.
Absolutely. It's definitely one of those things. I think no matter where you are right now, we're all feeling that on how important that connection to other people really is, right?
And difference when you get to connect, it's a lift. You know, after I get off the phone with somebody, I feel like, yay, I'm gonna go do some gardening, or yeah, I'm gonna wash the dishes, you know. So
that's so true. You there's like this energy that comes from that, right? Absolutely. So as we kind of start talking about, you know, some of the experiences that you have had during this time with YWCA, I thought we could just start out with having you kind of give us a kind of a brief overview of who the YWCA is and what your mission is here in the Greater Green Bay area.
Indeed, excellent. So the YWCA is a 100-year-old organization in the Green Bay area. We celebrated that on last year, and we're excited that our mission is a dedication to eliminating racism, empowering women, and promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. And we do that in a number of ways. We do that in our relationship in health and wellness. We do that in our child care. We do that with our Women's Empowerment Center. We do that in our community education. And so what we are always tickled by is when people come in for visits, they get in and they're like at an amusement park kind of going, wow, I didn't know that all of this was in the inside of the YWCA, because when you look at it from the outside, you don't recognize how big it is and the breadth of the services. And so people don't know we have two full pools. We have a lap pool, and then we have an exercise pool. We serve about 100 children a day in our child care. And we have a women's career closet where we support low resource families, and they can get tons of clothes to start new jobs, to interview, and to do tons of other things. And so we have just a number of programs that people have no idea about. And so we are excited that as people are connecting and they're telling a friend.
Absolutely, that's really good, and now those are all really important services and the mission here in our community. So we need to get the word out and connect and network and make sure people know that these things are available here.
Indeed, indeed.
Absolutely. So we're really finding ourselves in some uncharted territory, to say the least. Would you want to kind of begin by talking a little bit about how your team has kind of navigated this time and how it's, when we were talking a little bit before, you've talked about how kind of it really has brought your team together in some ways. So can you describe
Indeed.
that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I think I said this before, that you can do anything with friends. And so this is a challenging time, one, because we lost the people that we serve. When we had the stay at home, or the safer at home order, immediately we went from a bustling building to the hollow hallways. And so we had to figure out and get into conversation very quickly about the things that needed to be done for us to get more activity back. And so the area that is an essential service is our child care. And so we were connected with the United Way and the Greater Green Bay Community Foundation and the Packers program, and they actually funded planning for us basically to figure out how to structure things so that we could get families back into our building safely. And so that's a beautiful example of the connectedness of the community and how we're all together in it. And so from the plan, we were able to institute the new regulations from the Department of Children and Family Services, because they changed. A matter of fact, we actually, with the new regulations, have to employ more staff but care for fewer children. And so it's really interesting, and then we were really fortunate to get the CARES Act PPP loan that actually will help us in terms of the funding of the families when they come back, because families are scared. And so they're trickling back in. When we left, we had about 100 little people in our building today, and we have smaller numbers than that right now, but it's growing as people feel a little bit safer and are reassured that everything is going to be okay. Then people will continue to kind of come back to us. And so our relationship and our leadership team meetings with many people that are at home, working from home and that kind of thing, we just stayed in the conversation about what needs to happen to make people feel safe. How do we get the information out there? How do we let people know what's available and that kind of thing? And it was just a number of times where we just said, how are you really doing? Like, how are you doing? And so I imagine it's true in other places that there have been some tears, because people a little bit have felt the strain of it, have felt the stress of it, and have felt the uncertainty of it. And it's so great for people to feel safe enough to let their guard down. And I think those are some of the notes that I get later, and when you just hear somebody say, thank you so much for understanding. Yeah. And so that's what we've done. We've tried to stay in good communication. I'm fond of saying that you can solve any challenge with good communication. And so we've stayed in good communication. And and it's, we're just doing the next thing.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of kind of getting that childcare piece back up and running, and then thinking maybe more long-term with some of your other pieces of the services you provide, do you want to touch on some of the practical steps you have taken to do that, or some of the new things you've put in place?
Yep. So with those conversations, or every leadership team meeting, we actually have action items. And so, we talk it through and we say, what are the things that need to be done? And then we basically operationalize them. And so for our health and wellness programming, our health and wellness director has actually started doing Facebook live presentations and letting people get on there and get their exercises in. And so we started, and that's free right now. And so people that are used to being in exercise classes with us, they meet with other people from the exercise class on Zoom or on the Facebook Live, or they get a phone call from some of our staff people that says, okay, this is what's available, please log in, please check in. And so really just then having supervisors check back with people that are their direct reports and ask them what they need.
Mm-hmm.
So we just basically said, okay, call your folks. Make sure you just let people know how important they are to you, and then start letting them know what's available. Ask them if they need help in terms of any troubleshooting to get the technology support that they need to kind of log on if they're not used to doing those things. Some of the other things are just kind of checking back. How did it go? You know, and then times what happens when you ask how did it go, you hear some people were successful at it, but other people weren't. You hear that some people had problem with their technologies and others didn't, and then you troubleshoot that. And then from that, you really have, you can document that so that it's a reference for people to go back to. In the weekly touches that we have with all of our membership and then all of our families and then all of our staff, we typically host a list of links for very specific information from the experts. And so that if people are ever feeling like, I don't know what's going on, or I need this, like we kind of keep it top shelf or low fruit. It's the low hanging fruit. So people have quick access to things that will answer questions that come up.
Okay. So in turn, that's really interesting. I think a lot of our organizations are trying to provide more things, you know, virtually when we can't physically be close to one another, but still connect in that way. You know, one of the things that we've been seeing though is that in terms of connectivity, whether it's, you know, familiarity with technology or, you know, even having the broadband access, right, to be able to do video and that types of things. I mean, have you found that, you know, there's some gaps, there's some opportunities there as a community, or, I mean, for the most part, you know, what are you seeing in terms of that connection mode?
Absolutely. There are gaps and opportunities. I actually am a part of a capacity building program that was funded by the Greater Green Bay Community Foundation. And it is a group of CEOs and EDs of nonprofits in the area. And it has been a wealth of knowledge. Yesterday we were on our call for the month of May. And out of that came these amazing kind of bits of information for support. And so the Howell Resource Center has relationships with community service agencies that are providing support for seniors who are vulnerable to the COVID crisis, and they can actually have people come and shop for them. We got information about the Warrior Masks program where they are donating free masks, and so we have tons of masks for our teachers, and then we are going today get some masks if children want to wear masks. And so again, there's this community and this connectedness where when you start talking, people start saying, well, I have this, well, I have this, well, I know someone that can connect you with that. And it was beautiful. It was really just beautiful to see nonprofits coming together, and rather than hoarding things or being in silos, really just opening up and expanding kind of what they had to share and to give resources so that they had what they needed. And so I think that again, every challenge with good communication can be solved fairly quickly. I don't have those links, but I'll provide them with you if you want to get those links on your website later. But yes, we have a ton of things that are happening in terms of people that are saying, I have a lot and I'm willing to share during this time.
Absolutely. And one of the things I was going to ask you was around, you know, if there are some unexpected gems you found in this crisis. It sounds like this might be one of them. Are there other things, you know, that you have found as kind of those little gems of hope?
Absolutely. The fact that people are willing to put themselves in a vulnerable situation because they care or they feel like they're stronger than somebody else is a gem. It's beautiful to kind of see the heart of the Green Bay community come out in this difficult time. It is good to see that people have said, I didn't have sanitizer. Well, I have a contact that has a vat and they'll let you use, you know, pour some of their sanitizer into your bins. Or and then I have a person that said, well, we know of a distributor that creates the canisters that you put the sanitizer in. I mean, it was this beautiful, beautiful picture of the community kind of saying, yep, because we were talking and because we were able to share like in real time, like we got a lot of things that had been closed open up, and then we provided a lot of support for people that didn't have things. And so yeah, it was really pretty fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wonderful to see those linkages and those connections really translate to tangible action, right, in the community in ways in which that we can support one another. So Ronita, if someone wanted to connect with the YWCA, right now, how would they go about doing that?
If they go to our website, www.ywcagreenbay.org, they can get in touch with us. There is a contact link that you can contact us, and we have someone that monitors those emails. They can certainly call in. My extension is 132, but if they call into the front desk, that will go into an answering machine that someone will get that information and then activate it, and then they will get answers and get what they need from that. And then they can always just visit the website to see what's going on and what's coming next. We actually have a virtual event that's happening next Tuesday at 1 o'clock, and you can link to the event through our Facebook page. But it's actually an annual Women of Vision Luncheon, and it's a virtual event, and it really is just an opportunity for ladies to get together and kind of see each other's strength and connect with each other and say, yeah, we're still here, and on the other side of this, we'll still be standing. So I really invite you and your viewership kind of to log into that event and be encouraged.
Absolutely. That's a really great event. And we'll make sure that when we post the link to this video that we include that as well so people can see that. So in terms of taking care of your health and well-being, Ronita, what have you been doing? Any tips to share or things that you've been, finding useful for you in your life?
I do. I'm pretty excited. I mean, first of all, we have fantastic instructors, and so I've used some of the free instruction with our structure in some of those classes. But then I have ramped up my journaling, and so I'm journaling and I'm reflecting more. And because things are moving at a slower pace, I'm able to see things that I had missed before because I was moving too fast. And so I'm able to think about things that happen that feel difficult and reframe them and see the kind of beauty in the challenge of it all. And so that's been pretty marvelous. I'm walking my dog when it's not cold because I'm a cold bird. I'm walking my dog more, but I've done some pretty extensive gardening at my place. And that's another thing where a community has demonstrated how lovely it is. I had people show up with peonies. And so I have new peonies. And then I had people show up and they brought me irises. I have been gardening with people in our broad community just to support them. All of it, while social distancing. But it has been just a breath of fresh air to see the community surround me, and then me being able to do an exchange with the things that I'm capable of doing. And then I can't wait till it gets warm and stays warm for a little while for all these beautiful things that we've planted to come shooting up out of the ground. And so those are the things that make me happy. And those are the things that I've kind of ramped up during my time of not being able to see my family, and being kind of like honorable to the process of making sure those that are more vulnerable aren't getting sick. So I'm social distancing and doing the things I can.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I really love the idea too of that journaling, because when we think about connection, we think about social connection, it is about connecting with other people, but I think that journaling also allows us time to connect with ourselves, right? Yeah. And to your point, in a way that, in our old normal, right, so many of us were going from here to there to, everywhere, and not necessarily taking that time to like reconnect with who we are and the thoughts that we're having each and every day, and how that's playing out in the decisions we're making and the choices we're making. And I love that point of, connection is with one another. It's also within ourselves.
Yeah. And what's interesting is the quieter I get, then the more I am able to contribute when then I'm in relationship with other people. So it's been very interesting that as I kind of fortify myself with that quiet time, that journaling and reflecting, and I don't respond too quickly. I don't, it's just better thought out. So my contribution is better, it's healthier, it's richer, it's wiser. And so, yeah, it's given me an opportunity to do that more too. Yeah.
I love that. I really do. So as we kind of wrap up here today, Ronita, we always like to ask who or what is inspiring you today? And I know that you've provided a couple different examples, but you know, what really stands out to you?
I think that my staff, my childcare staff, inspires me today. It's hard not knowing a lot, and you know what? They love our little people, and that's what I miss more than anything else. Just hearing the laughter in the hallways when our children are going on their walks, and when they're talking about what they saw outside and that kind of thing. And our teachers love them. I mean, it's beautiful when they arrive in the morning, just to hear the squeals of delight, knowing that they're going into their classrooms with these teachers that care like they do for them. And so that really inspires me now. And I'm excited that we are available for essential workers and that we're available for first responders, because the care and the support that families are getting from our child care instructors, it's really kind of life-giving. And so that inspires me. It inspires me that during a challenging time like this, that the YWCA can just really kind of dig deep into the reason that we're here, the reason that we were created 100 years ago, and just be intentional about doing it well still. And so that inspires me.
Well, that inspires me as well. And in that childcare piece, I mean, that is, as you point out, so essential right now. And really thank you and your staff and your entire team for being able to provide that for our essential workers.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Ronita. We really do appreciate your insight and some of the stories that you've shared with us all. I think that it certainly helps us all kind of reconnect and recenter. So we really appreciate your time today. And we want to also thank everyone else for joining us here today. If you have suggestions on who you would like to hear from in the community, or even different topics that you'd like to see, you can always drop us a note at hello@wello.org, or you can visit our website at wello.org for more well-being information. That is where we will be posting all of our videos, all of our blogs. So that is a wealth of information for you to go and explore. So as we sign off, I want to just remind you all that we are in this together. Even though we are physically distanced, know that we are here to connect with you. And so feel free to reach out in multiple different ways if you need that connection. So until next time, I hope that you all remain safe, healthy, and well. Take care, everyone.